Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We are this week looking at the Vanarama National League North. But before we get into any of that, help us by hitting that subscribe button so you do not miss out on any further football footage throughout the whole of this season, and smash that like button as well to give that luck to your club this weekend. So we've been asking for your feedback on how you think your side are going to get on in the National League North this season, and we've had some responses in. So every match we go through, we're going to get your views from your side and see what we can make of this weekend, give you our predictions on how we think the matches are going to finish. We've had the first game weeks already in midweek where there was plenty of goals and talking points. Every team played in the FA Cup at the weekend for now 2 games under their belt after months of no football. So let's get straight into it, and let's look at our first match that we're looking at for this weekend's fixtures in the Vanarama National League North. So there's the fixtures. The first game we look at then is Alfreton Town against Spennymoor. Well, Spennymoor, one of the fancies for this season, certainly for us anyway, in my opinion, and looking at my league predictions, which I will link in the description down below for our National League North predictions. I think Spennymoor will pretty much be up there. I also think Alfreton will do pretty well and decent this season. We got in touch with Liam Henton, an Alfreton fan who contacted us on Twitter, and his opinion is that, there's a few players to look out for in this Alfreton side for this season. None more so than Dan Bradley, back for a third spell at the club. His quality in the dressing room will hopefully push Alfreton up to a higher finish this year. Also, a little mention Liam said about Elliot Reeves, who's been brought in from Ilkeston, hoping to make that step up and retrieve some goals in this division. The worry is, Liam is saying that the worry is not having a settled squad. The goalkeeper was a bit of a worry last year, but George Willis has come in now and gives them that bit of balance in between the sticks. They lost Morgan Smith, but the squad, in his opinion, looks capable of a top 10 finish, and I can't agree more. I think Alfreton will be there or thereabouts for a top 10. I fancy a few more sides to finish in the playoffs compared to how I think they'll fare. Looking at midweek, James Jones's towering header gave them a 1-1 draw with Curzon Ashton. Josh Claxton unlucky to get a red at the end of the game. Mad that they had to play 2 games in a space of 3 days when they had no football for months. And Billy Heath, the manager, certainly worried about his thin squad he's got going in to one this weekend and moving on for the season as well. It really is paper thin at the moment, but they have a decent manager. They've got a decent squad, a few good players in there, and Alfreton will make a good fist of it. For Spennymoor then, well, a few debutants were there, weren't they, against Farsley Celtic at the weekend, including Stephen Thompson, Jason Kennedy, but it was Scott McLean who caught the eye with an assured man of the match display at fullback. Goals from Rob Ramshaw and Glenn Taylor scored the goals, and Taylor obviously scoring goals yet again for fun for Spennymoor as they try and keep in the playoff places this year. So last time out, obviously Alfreton started off with a draw. Spennymoor with 3 points. On top of that, a 3-1 win away at Bradford Park Avenue in the FA Cup mean they've started very strongly, and they also like their trips to Alfreton. 13 goals they've scored in the last 3 visits to the Impact Arena, notably the second to last appearance, a 7-1 win. 1-2-0 here last year, and they will look for go again. But for me, my prediction is going to go for a 2-2 draw in this. I think Spennymoor are very, very strong, and they're always going to score goals in every game. But I think Alfreton's fight at the start of the season and an extra day's rest on top of Spennymoor, I think Alfreton will, get a point out of it. It'll be tough for them, but I'm going to go for a 2-2 in this match. Next fixture on the list to look at then is Blyth Spartans against AFC Telford United. Calvo on YouTube commented that my prediction of keeping them up was wide of the mark. He thought his side were doomed this season. Well, they haven't started great, have they, with a 4-0 defeat to Guiseley. Michael Nelson has a big job to beat the 21st place they had last season. 11 points behind Curzon Ashton after PPG came in. They're going to have to look towards Blackett and McKeown for their goals. It's going to be a long, hard slog for Blyth Spartans this year, you'd have to feel. Telford on the other side, since predicting the video, they've grown more and more in my thinking, and I think Gavin Cohen's Bucks are a real dark horse for a playoff push this season. 3 second-half goals blew Brackley away in the first game of the season. It further proves that. Jason Oswell scoring. Last time he was in this division, he notched 25 in the goal for Stockport County. Add to that the quality of James Hardy, Aaron Williams, Lee Vaughan has come in. There's a lot here for Telford to be excited about, and I think Telford will have a pretty good season. Telford won 4-2 when these two met in January, but Blyth won the last fixture at home, beating them 3-1. Callum Roberts that day grabbing a hat-trick for Blyth. The much improving Callum Roberts, who Blyth really certainly missed since his move and progress at Notts County. So with all that in mind, Blyth and Telford fancied, you can't look elsewhere other than a Telford win. I'm going to go for a narrow win, but I'm going to go for Blyth 1, Telford 2. Heading to Boston then, and it's the tale of the 4-4 in the games played between these two. Every game they've played so far, between them have played 4 games, and they've scored 4 in each single game. Boston pushed Leamington aside and they look very good, don't they? Nick Edwards from Facebook thinks his side can get the playoffs, and I think that is a minimum. The new stadium plays a part. It's not easy getting accustomed to new surroundings, and they will start the season playing at Gainsborough Trinity's ground, while the finishing touches get done at their own new plush stadium. The squad is very strong though. Nick, who got in touch with us, believes it's headlined by Andy Thanoy, and certainly a headline marker as well as the experience of the people like Paul Green, who they've brought into the club this year. Jordan Thulis as well, capable of scoring goals. It's very strong in every area. Boston United, it's hard to pinpoint where that would be. And their rivals on Saturday is Guiseley, a team I believe will be in the playoffs, or at least be very, very close. Clive Taylor got in contact, and a hope for a top half is on the agenda. Certainly showed Blyth that was a possibility, didn't they? Clive pinpointed Kane Felix as a player to keep an eye on, and he certainly started where he left it. Guiseley getting man of the match in that game in midweek. Aaron Martin, a huge blow losing him last season when he moved. He's now in the Football League. But there's a good array of attackers to complement Felix, and the strength of the back, especially with the addition of Ashton Hall, who's come in this week on loan from Sheffield United. It's going to be a tough game between these two, and Boston and Guiseley certainly among the goals so far. 1-1 in August last season, but 4 unbeaten at home in this fixture are Boston United. I predict, like the first game that we said in our roundup, I think Boston will draw 2-2 with Guiseley. I can't split them. I think they both start very well. I know they're both full of confidence at the moment, so I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw here at Gainsborough Trinity's Stadium. Brackley take on Curzon Ashton. Brackley fan Danny Glorio took a cautious approach when speaking about their chances, being satisfied with playoff place at best. Not an impressive pre-season, and Danny highlighted that, and it certainly leaked into the league, hasn't it, with a 3-0 reverse to Telford on their first outing of the North season. 4 years in a row, Brackley have hit the top 7, and Kevin Wilkin will have the biggest task of those years to repeat. However, they have made some decent acquisitions, and there's no means, beyond their reach. Bradley Rolt is an exciting signing they've signed on loan from Peterborough United. Got 2 on his debut in the FA Cup last weekend. His goals with Lee and Love is key for their success. And Brackley do have a chance that they won't have been happy with their start. And they want to put that right at home to Curzon on Saturday. Curzon themselves, I got no doubt they'll do better than they did last season. They actually started quite well last year, didn't they, Curzon? And they really drifted off, and a really disappointing end to the season that made them finish right near the bottom. But they've made some good, decent signings this summer. Recently, Fasayo Adarabio has come in. The much-travelled man around Europe have finally made a settled in place, and he is here at Curzon. And he'll hope to get some goals that he's definitely capable of. He's landed at Tameside Stadium, and with him up front, there's Dominic Knowles as well. He can be key for them, and Dom scored on his debut against Alfreton in midweek. He's certainly capable of a lot of goals. Stevenson and Mann, in which is added as well some quality to Steve Cunningham. He'll have the Nash ready, and I'm certain mid-table finish is very realistic for the Nash. Could they punch above their weight for the playoffs? Who knows? It's all about the start. They've got quite decent start to the season if you look at it on paper. And they did start off with a very good point against Alfreton. Brackley, strong record in this game though, 10 games. Stretches their unbeaten run in this, Brackley, and 2015 it was the last time Curzon won, a 3-0 here last season, but I predict Curzon to change and buck that trend a little bit. I think Brackley will be a little bit feeling sorry for themselves. It might take a little while for these top players they've brought in to strike the partnerships. I think Curzon could surprise a few this year, so I'm going for a 1-2 and away win in this one. To the Diva Stadium next, and Chester FC, well, they go up against Leamington. Bernard Morley and Anthony Johnson getting 3 points in their first games in midweek. Bernard Morley saying they were not at their best against Kidderminster, but defended brilliantly against a very organised Kiddie side. Declan Weeks scored on his debut against his former side, and Danny Elliott with the other. And Chester have got some good depth this season, haven't they? George Glendon is now their captain for this season. And the depth in the squad, they have potential to go under the radar this season. 6th last season, but they definitely have a bit of momentum pushing them at the start of this season. Louis Gray, the hero for them at the weekend through their FA Cup drama penalty joy last weekend. But the guys at Chester, they always do a good job. And I think potentially I see a lot of better teams that are stronger than Chester. Hence, you check out the prediction video, which obviously is in the description down below. I'll put Chester relatively lower mid-table, but there's no reason why they can't do better than that. And they started fantastically with a very good win against Kidderminster. On the flip side, Leamington, Liam Crutchley was discussing Leamington to us and believes his side, if they finish between 14th and 17th, that would be pretty realistic. Most people's fancies to be near the bottom. The massive defeat at home to Boston has not helped their cause whatsoever. They've kept hold of Callum Gittins, Jack Edwards, and that's successful for them. And the breaks will no doubt be near the foot of the table, in my honest opinion. With the lowest in the budget, it will be hard for them, but the breaks will make the fight of it, I'm sure. I don't see them getting anything out of Chester at the weekend, and I've gone for Chester 1, Leamington 0 for this Saturday. Chorley suffered relegation last season, and they've fallen straight back down to earth at this level with a 3-1 defeat at York City in their last outing in the first game of the season, and they are up at home to Gloucester. Lee Hayes mentioned that he'd be happy to avoid relegation this season for Chorley. Such is the change going on up there. Lost 80%, he quotes as saying, from last year's squad. However, he's still happy to have a side still left there. And, that's important for every team to realise. We are all missing football, but some have lost their club altogether. And I think it's easy to get frustrated that we're not there at the moment supporting our team. And hopefully we can get back there soon. There's a lot of clubs that have folded altogether, and their fans are having to start from the bottom again. Ralph Jolly, another Chorley fan who contacted us, also agreeing anything above mid-table was a bonus. So the confidence is not that high there for Chorley this season. Elliot Newby would be their key player. He got mentioned, and Jamie Familio, Chorley's manager, wasn't disheartened from the defeat to York. 18 attempts on goal show that Chorley did take a bit of fight to them. Clearly composure in front of goal is something they need. And with Newby, Lewis Riley, the youngster from Crewe, and Harry Cardwell will be hoping to improve that strike rate. But you feel like Chorley probably won't be punching near the top for this season, and just surviving in this division seems to be the message from the Chorley fan base. They've got the potential to obviously have a little push for it, but it feels like the confidence is pretty low up there at the moment. On the flip side, Gloucester, well, they couldn't be more confident at the moment, and that win against Kettering, getting them off to a perfect start. 1-0 up in the first minute. Back at home as well, playing where they need to be. An exciting strike partnership in Asante and McClure up front. They really do look like a dangerous partnership for this season in this division. James Rowe clawing together a lovely looking squad. No more or less key is Gavin Gunning, and he was pushed for a mention when Neil Phelps got in contact, and he expected Gloucester to be pushing to be champions this season. And why with that strike force could you oppose? I think there are some squads stronger, and I don't think Gloucester will technically be top. But they've made a fantastic start, and you can feel the confidence coming out of Gloucester, can't you? They really are up for it this year. Started with that 3-1 win. Last fixture, these two played. Chorley won 4-1, but that was back in 2016. My prediction for this, I think Gloucester will take the 3 points. I think Chorley are going to need a bit of time to acclimatise back down in this division, and Gloucester's confidence is high as anything, and they'd be one of my fancies to really put some wedge behind this weekend. So I've gone for Gloucester to win 2-0 here at Chorley and really push on their great start that they've already had. Into the northeast then, and Darlington, and they will be up against Kidderminster, both sides looking for their first point of the season. Darlington going down 1-0 to AFC Fylde. On Tuesday, Darlow fan Tony Boynton thinks they will improve this season. His main worry is keeping players fit. And how ironic, a few days before that comment, you can't help but agree. They've already lost Campbell on Tuesday night. Maguire was out to injury already. To decrease the numbers in an already relatively small squad compared to most in this division. Another player with a knock is the player Tony said he would be the one to look out for, Luke Sharman. Charman has come in from Newcastle United. Certainly looks good. His 2 goals in the FA Cup last weekend against Prescott Cables, and a couple of other chances that really looked quite tasty on the eye, being in attack for Darlington this season. Got great blend, and the midfield for me is as strong as any in the division. Jarrett Rivers, Will Hatfield and Donowa. Can the experienced Nicky Hunt and McMahon still keep up with that energy of this league? It's a hard, gruelling schedule, and when you get a big injury hit like you do with Darlington, it does harm you. Alan Armstrong I rate very highly, and when they're all fit, I think Darlington will be right up there. For Kidderminster, Oliver Madden reckons the Kidderminster fan expectations should be the playoffs this season, being up from the 15th finish last season, which was a big disappointment for Kidderminster Harriers. Kobe Arthur is his man. He believes will be a key player for them. Big signing for them in the summer was Amari Morgan-Smith, and he was unfortunately sent off on his debut. A not very good start, or very clever start from him indeed. Hemming, Sterling, Prosser, these kind of players will try and be the threat this weekend at Darlington, and Russell Penn is now looking to become a legend status as a manager, as he was a stalwart for the club in his playing days. As mentioned at the beginning, both these sides lost their first game of the season. Darlington by 1 goal to Fylde, and Kidderminster by 1 goal to Chester. On the last 3 occasions at Darlington, they have won, winning this game 1-0 last season. My prediction, that goes to 4 home games unbeaten for Darlington, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for Darlow, providing a couple of them players can come back with their knocks from midweek. Next game we look at is in Yorkshire, and Farsley Celtic up against York City. Farsley finishing 11th last season. Very impressive first season back in the National North. Brought in experienced goalkeeper Stephen Drench in the summer. He comes in, but sent off on his debut for handball outside the box. Did not help matters against Spennymoor. Jake Charles came off the bench to get their goal, and they'll be hoping that players like Jimmy Spencer, Will Hayhurst and Dave Sires, who are all still there, will look to share the goals around again this season. Farsley, I don't see finishing as high as 11th this year. I think they're nearer the bottom than the top. But a defeat first game of the season, and then York City next. It's a difficult start for them. If they pick anything up here, that'll definitely give them some confidence. York fan Sam Hendry expects his York boys to be top 4 this season, and why not? Players to look out for him: Jack Redshaw, Harry Bunn, the former Huddersfield and Manchester City striker, but also Akil Wright he wanted to mention too. His concern for York is also my concern too. Lots of changes this season, so they're all new to each other. Will they gel quickly and get in a bit of momentum? Obviously, the start that they had was very good against a poor Chorley side, winning 3-1. Goalkeeper of the North last year, Peter Jameson's still there. Duckworth, Tinkler, Brown, etc. All decent players. So they will want to get that ball rolling early. Started brilliantly and are in my top 4 for this season. Ironically, all the sides that I predicted for the top 4 this year all won midweek. You would not want to be trying to catch those sides early, especially York if they find that early momentum. Last season, it was 0-0 at York's ground. No meeting since 2008. 4-1 win for York then, which was back in the National League days. for these two. My prediction, York to get the job done and pick up a 2-0 win in Farsley. Next, two sides with 3 points each. Both sides won their first game here between Gateshead and AFC Fylde. Preston and Ward with the goals to come back from 1-0 down at Bradford Park Avenue for the Heed Army on Monday. Mike Williamson delighted with the energy considering they played Saturday and Monday. Keating and O'Donnell started on the bench and they will hope to push into this side, but Preston and Co.'s performances will be hard to change that around for Williamson. Griffiths is a key signing and definitely will boost Gateshead this season. They'll be looking to push on a little bit more this year and try and get into playoff places where points per game restricted that to happen last year. For Fylde, looks so strong, don't they? Finally broke down a stubborn Darlington defence in midweek. A great finish from Hereford. Last time in this division, they got 109 goals, finishing champions. They've certainly got goals behind them this year too to try and do that again. Kurt Willoughby is key, and also Hume comes in. He swapped the National League with Altrincham to stay a league lower this year. And you know what signing that is. Ben Tollett, Phyllis Kirk Perkins, quality everywhere for AFC Fylde. For me, I don't look anywhere else other than them going up this season as someone I'd put money on anyway. And last time these two played, it was in the National League in April 2019, a 1-0 win for Fylde, and Fylde are unbeaten in their last 4 games at Gateshead. And a bit of a running trend, I feel, this season. I've gone for a Fylde win for this weekend as well, 3-1. I think they're going to take the 3 points away from Gateshead, who, you know, while they're pretty strong themselves, Fylde have just got power everywhere, and 3-1 I'm going for this weekend. Hereford United against Bradford Park Avenue. Hereford 16th last season, and 0-0 start to the season with Southport. Some good signings into the building this year. Edgar Street, Dan Jones, Giles Coke, Klukowski come in. John Lewis missed the 0-0 with Southport, and Hereford actually played that game without a recognised striker. So 0-0. Was pretty much written all over it, especially from Hereford's blank anyway. But they showed good signs. Owen Jones is a threat for them, and he had another decent game after his good performance against Gosport in the FA Cup on Saturday. Grimes at the back was instrumental against Southport in ensuring they kept themselves in a clean sheet. They'll need to add goals to their play in the league to be considered mid-table for me, but the side's taking shape and looking quite promising, and I don't think Hereford will be struggling near the bottom of the league, but I think a relatively finish around where they are at the moment, probably with the way they've started. Don't need to add them goals, of course. For Bradford Park Avenue, Shazad Parvez, one of their fans, just wanted for them to stay in the division this year, which I think most fans will want at Bradford PA. Woeful in large parts last season, finished bottom on just 20 points before it was curtailed, but saved due to the system of COVID and no relegations took place. A 4G surface could well be the leveller for Bradford to increase their chance of home form this season. But going into this weekend, I don't see it. They met last in January, drew 1-1. Bradford won their previous 3 before that, ironically. But I'm going to go for a Hereford win today for the weekend, and I think Hereford will beat Bradford 2-1. It'll be a close game. Bradford will give them a bit of a run for it, but I think Hereford will just have that little bit of quality to ensure they do pick that ball into the goal for this weekend. So the National League preview ends with Kettering versus Southport, both looking for their first wins of the season as well. Gary Hill, Kettering fan, feels his boys can be fighting in a top 14 finish. It's the best he thinks that the expectation is this year, and to avoid a relegation fight. Josh Oyinsan is his player to watch. They've had a poor start, haven't they, Kettering? 3-1 defeat at Gloucester. One of the relegation favourites, Paul Cox, blasted and warning his players that they just cannot afford to just turn up for 45 minutes after a very poor start to the season in the first 45 minutes on Tuesday night. Summer signing Sam Jones sent off did not help matters whatsoever for Kettering, and they'll need to turn this round against Southport. For Southport, mid-table last season, I think the fans believe that it's going to be pretty similar this time around. Their 0-0 of Hereford was disappointing. They hit the woodwork twice at Hague Avenue, and Niall Watson coming close late on as well to try and rewrite his debut goal at Morpeth in the Cup. but that chance went begging. When these two sides met at the start of last season in August, it finished 1-1. The last game at Kettering was in 2011 between these two sides. Both of them were in the National League then. Southport coming out 3-2 winners. Kettering finished bottom that season and went down. I think Southport will put a couple of those chances away this weekend. And I'm going to go for a 3-0 away win at Kettering. I think Kettering are going to struggle at the start of this season, and they're going to have to rejiggle the side again with the suspensions, and they need a bit of time just to settle down, I think. So I'm going to go for a Southport heavy victory away from home at Kettering for this weekend. So that is it. That is our preview for this weekend in the National League North. We hope you've enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit that like button if you have. Hit that like button as well to give your side that bit of luck they have this weekend. Make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out on further game weeks, and comment down below how you think your side will get on this weekend. Do you agree with any of them predictions? What ones do you think I got horribly wrong, and you think it's going to be the complete opposite? Who do you follow? Who are your team? How do you think they're going to get on this season? Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned and make sure you subscribe for further videos coming soon. Have a great weekend. Up the footy.